I'm Erika Del Sordo. Welcome to today's Talk with Erika. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel and audio podcasts. All links are in the info section. So, hurricane season is upon us, and I pulled in one of the most respected experts based in South Florida. Phil Ferro is the Chief Meteorologist on WSVN 7 weekday mornings. Phil and his team are on top of the latest developments 24 hours a day. He has a passion for meteorology, and it shows. Phil has received 2 Emmy nominations that we're going to talk about. Phil Ferro, welcome.
Thank you so much, Erika. It's been a long time. I haven't seen you in like forever. So thank you for inviting me on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I want to talk about that. But first off, because I mentioned it, let's talk about your Emmy nominations. What were you nominated for? Tell me about that.
Well, we have two Emmy nominations and 2 Emmy wins, which is fabulous. The first one was for a tornado coverage that we did a couple of years ago. It was a tornado that was threatening South Florida, and it touched down in parts of Broward County. And we cut in live on the air, and we managed to get people aware of the situation. So fortunately, nobody got hurt, and the tornado kind of lifted without impacting anyone. And the other one was for our hurricane coverage on Irma, which came across South Florida. Our coverage was taken live by CNN and Fox News as the
Wow.
system was barreling right across the coast here by Miami-Dade and Broward counties and the Keys. And so it got national attention. And unfortunately, the wind had to come because a hurricane was coming through South Florida. But we were proud of our work to alert everybody in the area that this system was coming in, and it was coming in strong.
Wow. Oh my goodness. You definitely deserve those 2 Emmy wins. I can tell you that. I've known you for a long time. So here's an interesting factoid, and I wanted to bring that up because I know how much you just love what you do. You and I knew each other when we both worked for a different news station. Then you joined. Here's what's funny. You joined WSVN 7 in 2005, and that's the year I started as Lauren Lane, as the traffic reporter over there. So
Right,
that was
right.
pretty interesting.
Yes, yes, and well, you see, good things happen. Great paths come across. I did. I started at WSVN in 2005, and prior to that, I had been working on air as the chief meteorologist for Spanish-speaking Telemundo, Channel 51 in
Mhm.
South Florida. So for 10 years before I came to the Channel 7, I had been providing the Spanish audience with all their weather forecasting and all their hurricane tracking. So I've been in front of the cameras here for 6 months.
For 6 Oh my God.
Haven't aged today.
Yeah, I gotta tell you something. You really haven't. You have not. And I wanted to, it's funny that you mentioned that because I had a few things I wanted to ask you first, but let's talk about that because you look fantastic. You really do.
Thank
And I remember you the same way from like, what, 20 years ago,
you.
honestly, and you sound fantastic. But let's talk about this real quick before we talk
Yep.
about some hurricane stuff. You are a cancer survivor.
Yes.
Right? Doctors found something on your vocal cords in 2019. Walk me through that time and
All
how
right.
did that affect your on air?
All right. So to make a long story short, not just a one-time cancer fighter, a two-time cancer fighter. So take you
Oh,
back to 2018. I was on vacation with my family, and I felt a tickle at the back of my throat. And I go, oh, I must be catching a cold. And the tickle wouldn't go away, and my voice started going hoarse. And I would go to the doctor, and the doctor said, no, I don't see anything. But then over Christmas that year, the pain got really sharp, and I called my doctor, hey, we have to take care of this now. So I went into the office, he found a little something and did a biopsy, and the results came back on New Year's Day, 2019. How would you like to have that New Year's Day? Yes, we found cancer, but it was cancer of the tonsils. It was very close to the vocal cords, however, so they had to work their way around there. The first round was radiation, and which wasn't fun. So anyway, after that, I did come back to work, as you can see there from that picture, that the dolphins gave me a nice cancer fighter T-shirt there. So I came back in like March or April that year, and everything was going okay. But then as the summer progressed, I still was. Your body always has a way of telling you, "Hey, something's not right." So then by September of 2019, once again, I was diagnosed with the cancer being back. So then I had surgery. And it was a rough one because it was a 13-hour surgery. And it took three surgeons. So one takes the cancer out, one reconstructs your throat, and then another one runs a robot. Anyways, so I came back out, and by January, I was back at the station, but not on air. I was back at the station working behind the scenes because I was really, really weak. So I kind of built up my strength. And just as I went back on the air in March of 2020, COVID knocked at the door and they said, "You got to go home. You're not going to be here at the station." So I went back and worked from home all of March, April, May. And then I went back in June, and as you can see, there's the Heat sent me a shirt. At first, I thought when they sent me that shirt that they had confused me with Hero, their basketball star. There, I said, "Hey," but no, it was meant for me. So, anyways, so I went back to work June 1st, and Channel 7 did an excellent job of making sure that I was safe. I had my own little office entrance. Everything was cleaned daily. I was basically more in isolation at work than at home. Went from my office to the studio. Studio has robotic cameras. From the studio back into my office, so they did pretty good. They kept me nice and safe, and my voice, fortunately, the doctors did an incredible job, and I still have my moneymaker, so we're good.
There you go. But I was going to say, let's talk about that word hero for a moment, because you
Yeah.
really didn't miss a beat. You didn't miss a beat. I mean, you
uh,
were going through all of that very uncomfortable experience. You're fighting cancer, and here you are back at work. You're doing your thing, and you're watching storms for us. I mean, Phil,
Thank
that's
you.
incredible.
I'm going to hire you as my agent. That's what I'm going to do. No,
I'll
but
take
thank you
it.
very much. It took me a while. There was a lot of voice therapy involved, but I was determined. I was determined to come back. I sounded like Frankenstein for the longest time, but a lot of speech therapy helped. A lot of wonderful people. There's a lot of, when they say it takes a village, it takes the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, and everybody with an incredible attitude. I always tell folks that I think sometimes it's easy to be like a nurse when people are going to have babies. Oh my God, the neonatal center, everybody's happy. There's a new birth, and where it's not that easy to be so positive when every day you're working with cancer patients. And boy, these nurses and doctors are incredible at keeping you upbeat, keeping you focused, and letting you know, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to trust the process. And because of them, I'm here. So kudos to them.
Well, God bless. And again, I mean, I've said it before. I could not do a job like that. That's something
Yeah,
else to keep you, motivated and positive. And
yeah,
my goodness, you came
yes.
through it incredibly well. You look and sound fantastic, and I'm not kidding. I mean,
Thank you.
like better than when
Ah,
I knew you 20 years ago. So that's incredible. I'm happy that you're doing
thank you.
so well. I
Me
am.
too. I'm
So.
happy.
So we'll get to what's potentially looming, of course, what's going to affect us, what's going to affect South Florida and possibly the rest of Florida. But let's take it back a little bit, because here's something I actually didn't know. I want to talk about in 99 when you took part in a history making mission that flew into a hurricane, right? Traveling backwards across the Caribbean. What on earth, Phil? And I got
Well,
to tell you, I don't remember Hurricane Lenny. I just don't. So, right, it was
very
Hurricane
few
Lenny.
people do. Very few people do. 1999. So I get a call from the National Hurricane Center. Hey, we're going on this flight to Hurricane Lenny out in the Caribbean, and I was like, well, okay, no big deal. So I got on the plane, which is really weird. It was a 12-hour mission, and basically it's three hours to get to the storm, 6 hours in the storm, and then 3 hours flight back. And
Wow.
by the way, no food, no nothing. So you have to take it. You're on your own. So we're up there, and it's an incredible experience because as you're flying, everything is nice and quiet, blue skies, and then everything starts to turn gray, and then from gray to rainy, rainy to bumpy, and then you are on a roller coaster ride. And then as you clear the eye wall, all of a sudden everything's like eerily peaceful. But it's kind of weird because you're inside what almost looks like an arena. It's like the clouds almost look like they're stadium seating, and they have like this purple hue to them. And you look down, and the water is kind of like this stillness to it. And then that'll last for 10 minutes, depending on how wide the eye is. And then once you go right back on the other side of that eye wall, the shaking starts again. So in mid-flight, the pilot, it's the pilot, co-pilot, navigator, and a meteorologist. So they all say, "Hey, why don't you come into the cockpit?" And I'm talking to them, and they're saying, that this hurricane is actually going opposite what most hurricanes do. As a matter of fact, it's the only hurricane in history that we know of that has gone from west to east. Most of them are east to west. And so not only was this the only one, but while we were in flight, the meteorologists on board said they detected, hey, this has just gone from a Category 3 to a Category 4, and it's aiming for Puerto Rico. So I was
Oh
like, okay,
God.
I gotta call the station and let them know. Well, of course, 1999, cell phones back then weren't working as good as they do now. And so they had to patch me through, from the airplane to Homestead Air Force Base, Homestead Air Force Base to the local AT&T operator, from the AT&T operator back to the newsroom. And so here's the kicker. So here I think that I have this incredible exclusive. I'm going to call the station. I'm going to let them know that even before the National Hurricane Center puts it out, we're going to let them know that this system has gone from a Category 3 to a Category 4. So I'm listening to all the conversations. Oh, this is Air Force Flight so and so connecting to Homestead Air Force Base. Yes, this is Homestead Air Force Base connecting to the AT&T operator. AT&T operator connects to the station that I used to work for. And so when the station answers, they go, yeah, hello. And the operator says, hi, we have a collect call from Phil Ferro. Sorry, we don't take collect calls. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So anyway, so we missed the scoop.
Oh my gosh. That's that's quite the story. So let me ask something. Would you ever do something like this again?
No, 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 no. It truly was. I'm glad I did it. It was an amazing experience. I mean, to see how these incredible brave men and women fly through these hurricanes, fly through the eye wall,
Yeah.
take readings. And the coolest part is in the back of the airplane. There's a person that sits down, and there's almost like a cannon in the back of the airplane. So then they take what these things that are called radiosondes, which are basically like little torpedoes with a parachute. So they load up these radiosondes and they launch them right into the hurricane. And as these things fall, the parachute opens and they take all sorts of readings, rainfall, moisture, winds, barometric pressure. And so then they take all that information and then they send it back to the National Hurricane Center. And that's the data that the Hurricane Center uses to kind of put their forecasts together. So it's really cool to see all this stuff taking place, which then gives you more background and more depth. So when you get back to the station and you're relaying all this information, you have an idea, oh, exactly, that's how it happens. And so you can tell your viewers all that.
Wow, that's really incredible. That I love that. I love that. There's so much science in it and oh my goodness, it's so incredible. So what's happening in 2021 for us? It's been super hot and I think not having any kind of meteorological background, does that mean anything? Because it's been super hot. Like the moment I step outside, I'm instantly sweating like I ran a marathon. What on earth is going to happen for us in hurricane season?
And
Oh, and
what
by
on
the
earth
way,
is
might
exactly
I
right.
mention, I live in North Florida now, so I'm not even near the equator anymore in South Florida. It's that
Yes,
hot
yes,
here.
yes. Well, the main ingredient for hurricanes to form is hot water. It has to be at 80 degrees or above. If the water temperature is less than 80 degrees, storms won't happen. So typically, hurricane season runs from the 1st of June through the end of November, and that's because that's when most of the ocean water is at its warmest. So basically, hurricane season is a man-made timeline. Hurricanes can happen before or after that, as long as that hot water is there. Well, over the past few years, as a matter of fact, over the last 7 years, including this one, we have seen storms developing before the start of hurricane season. So what that tells us is that water is getting hotter and hotter, and then you'll end up seeing not just one or two, but sometimes four areas in the tropics being monitored at any one time. So that's the number one ingredient is hot water. So climate change is bringing us warmer temperatures, so they're kind of going hand in hand. The sun heats the water lets up all that steam, all that water vapor, hot water vapor rises. So you can kind of see where there's a cycle going on. And in essence, it's kind of what we are going to see in the years ahead. All the top names and all the experts in this tropical field are suggesting that we will see, and not just more storms, but also stronger storms, which is what we don't want. We don't want any of them, but we sure don't want stronger
No.
ones.
Right.
So that's going to be something that we are looking at all the time. So this year, hopefully, the experts are saying that we may not see a record-setting season like 2020, but it should still be above average.
Wow. Any names out there yet? Any named storms? Have we seen that?
We
I know
did.
hurricane season. Yeah.
We had one develop, subtropical storm Anna, I believe, if my names are still good. Yeah, that happened a few weeks ago in the northern Atlantic, just north of Bermuda. Fortunately, it didn't bother anybody. It went north into the open waters of the Atlantic. But, this year they're suggesting that we could see 13 to 20 named systems. I mean, out of which 6 to 10 could become hurricanes, and out of that number, maybe 3 to 5 could be category 3s or above. So what those forecasts and outlooks will never tell us is where a hurricane will make landfall. So what it does tell us is, hey, the ingredients are all there for so many storms to happen, but we just can't tell you where they're going to end up because Mother Nature will spin one up wherever. So it's basically up to
Right.
us to be ready, get prepared, make sure that you have all the supplies you need. Try not to wait till the last minute because that's where all the headaches happen and the frustrations and the anger. So if you try to prepare a little bit early, my model has always been if you can spend, for the holidays, for example, we'll spend 6 months getting ready for Christmas for one day out of the year. If we were to do the opposite way, if we were just to spend one day prepping for a season that lasts 6 months, we'll be okay. We'll avoid the rush. We'll avoid the headaches. And believe me, I understand a lot of the concerns. My parents are on a fixed income. It's very expensive for them to go out and in one shot buy water, food, supplies, batteries, whatever. So I always tell them, start in December. Every time you go to the grocery store, buy 2 extra cans of tuna, buy 1 extra bottle of water. Just try to little by little stock up, and hopefully it won't be such a big hit when something threatens.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And that's great advice. Absolutely. Because, then you get this mad rush of there's nothing on the shelves. So if you just prepare, and then of course the waters, if you have too much water, well, then use it. If you don't want it to go
Right,
bad, and then just repurchase
right,
for the next season. Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And
So
and
yeah.
and donate. At the
And
end of the
donate.
season, if
Hmm.
you're right, if you end up with all this stuff that thankfully you didn't have to use, then donate
Hmm.
to a food bank, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to have
Yeah,
all
and give
this
your
stuff.
tuna to the cats or something, or But
right?
yeah, it doesn't have to go to waste. It doesn't have to go to waste. But of course, it's not even just food. It's, the batteries, the flashlights. Just make sure everything works this way. You aren't trying to do the mad rush and then getting upset because the shelves are empty, because we all know no matter how many times you say it, no matter how many times we repeat it here on this show, it's still going to happen. So hopefully, if
Uh,
a few people are affected and hear this, of course, prepare early. Just make sure you have your stuff so that you're not agitated when the store shelves are, completely empty, and the
right,
grocery stores are out of water. Yep.
right. And
So
I want to
and
add
that's
a
where,
little
mhm.
asterisk. I want
Yeah.
to add a little asterisk to all this. I do not own stock in Home Depot or Publix or Santano's. Everybody always accuses me of, oh my gosh, no, you have. That's why you tell people. I don't tell anybody where to go. Just, just make sure you have the supplies that you need. I just want you safe, and that's it. That's it. Now the station, the news department, they may be doing live shots from Home Depot or from Publix or whatever, but that I have no say in that whatsoever. None.
No, no, we know that. Come on. Anyone who knows better knows that. Oh my goodness. You were saying though, Anna is the first named system out there, and that was a few weeks ago. Was that even named though prior to June? Because June 1st was the start of hurricane season. Was that
Correct.
named prior to hurricane season?
Yes, yes, indeed it was. And that's the seventh year already in a row that we have had activity before the start of hurricane season. Now, the names for all these systems are chosen 6 years in advance, and
Wow.
a list of names will be reused every 6 years. So whatever names were used last year will get used in 2026 once again. The only
Hmm.
difference would be is that any systems that have proved to be very destructive or have claimed a lot of lives, then those names will get retired. That's why we will never see another Hurricane Andrew again, for example, at least in
I was
name.
gonna say
We
that.
won't see another one in name. So those names are there already, even before the season starts. So if something does pop up ahead of the June 1st deadline or after the November 30th deadline, the names are still there for us to use.
Wow. Yeah, I was thinking that. I don't think anyone ever wants to hear Hurricane Andrew again. Um,
Right, never.
but no, never, never. And I hope we don't see a storm like that either. So just hoping that everyone stays safe. Phil, did you want to add anything else? Did I miss anything? Would you like to discuss anything else that I missed?
Well, the number one thing this year is that if you recall, last year was a record setting season. We had 30 name systems. We ran out of names to cover tropical activity. So the National Hurricane Center was forced to use Greek alphabet letters to
Oh,
follow the
that's
storms.
right.
Those are the alpha, the betas, the iotas, etc. Well, that system proved so difficult for people to know what was happening because a lot of those letters sounded the same. Iota, there was a couple of them that sounded the same. So the National Hurricane Center and the World Meteorological Organization, which takes care of the naming convention, said, okay, no longer are we going to use the Greek alphabet name. So for the first time ever, the National Hurricane Center now has the list of regular names and now an extra supplemental list of names. Something new.
Wow.
And by the
Yeah.
way, people always ask me, so who comes up with a list of names? How can I get my name on the list? Well, here's the thing: the names for the Atlantic season have to represent all the languages that are spoken throughout the Atlantic basin, male and female names. So those names include Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, and Dutch. So that's why one storm may be called George, and the next one may be called Andrew, and the next one may be called Mario. So all those names, now you know where they all come from.
I did not know that. I did not know that. I realized that it's funny that you say that now, why they sound different. You go from an Anna to a Mario or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. I did not know that.
See,
I
you
learned
want
something new.
the nerdy weather news, you come to me.
I love that. Nerdy weather news. Oh, we're going to have to do this again.
You
Phil, that's
betcha.
awesome. Where can everyone find you? If anyone wants to find out what's happening with these storms, where can folks find you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many ways to get a hold of me. Number one, P Ferro at 7 Weather Facebook page. I'm on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I also have a blog that is called the Phil Factor blog. It's on Blogger. And you can always send me a question if you like. My email is pferro@wsvn.com. I answer all questions because I love to do that kind of stuff. And then we also just launched a weekly podcast that comes out every Tuesday. We just dropped our second edition yesterday, and we talk everything. We talk science, we talk weather, we talk space, and so yeah, kind of cool.
That's really awesome. And I do want to remind everyone, anything you just mentioned, I'm going to have all of your links in the info section. So in the audio podcast, the video podcast on YouTube, you go to the info section, and then links mentioned in the show is where I'm going to have all of those links. That is so awesome. Phil, you're a really great guy. You're one of the really good ones. You have such a passion for what you do, and you're just a wonderful human being. So thank you so much again for doing the show with me and for just being a great friend. Thank you.
Hugs. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Today's Talk with Erika. Join me next week for another discussion with the experts who help make life easier. Please visit my website, erikadelsordo.com, where you'll find all of my social media platforms and more. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Once again, thanks for listening.